Hello again, this is Brian Copeland talking. Welcome to episode number 186 of Copeland's Cornerback, our second week after taking the summer off to kind of rejigger the show. You can see I built a whole new set behind me. As usual, I've got a group of distinguished comics who are ready to join me to talk about some of the news of the week. We record this on Wednesdays and we drop it on Thursdays. So last night was Tuesday, which was the night of the vice presidential debate. So we got lots and lots to talk about. So let's bring in our panel. Joining us this week, three of my buddies, three funny, but very, very intelligent. People ask me why I have comics on. It's because comics are smart. Comics always know what's going on and have got a take on it that you may not have thought of when it comes to the news and the things happening in the world. Tony Camin joins us for the very first time. Tony, I've not seen you in forever. Where are you?
I'm in Los Angeles here.
You're in Los Angeles. What are you doing in Los Angeles these days?
Today I do a podcast, great podcast, my friend Brian.
For free, too. So you're working for free down in LA. That's good.
For free. Good. And we're good friends. That's why I'm on the 100. It took me to 186 episodes to be on this show.
I will have you on more depending on how you do today. Dan St. Paul has not been on forever. It's good to see you, Dan.
Good to be here.
Dan
good to be at my house.
I was going to say, Dan has got the nicest digs, apparently, of the four of us. So that's very active. And I know you didn't design that. I know your wife designed and picked all that out.
Absolutely. I had nothing to do with this. She just plopped me in this room.
Your decisions were cash or charge. Those were your decisions, probably.
Yes, exactly.
And we've got Ngaio Bealum back with us. How you doing, Ngaio?
Hello, everyone. How are you? Welcome back. I'm feeling very moody. I'm in my Scorpio era.
Well, you got mood lighting.
Yes.
You got mood lighting going on right now.
All right,
let's jump into
what's
it.
Gonna happen.
Well, let's jump into it because there's lots to talk about. Did you guys catch the debate last night, or at least catch coverage of it, or snippets of it, or news from it today? If not, I'll fill you in. I'm assuming.
Yep. I caught the last 2/3. I missed the first half hour.
Okay, well, you didn't miss anything.
I'm here to talk about the future.
Yeah, we're just here to talk about the future. That's right.
I'm here to talk about the future.
Here's what I said. We're here to talk about the future.
That debate and the presidential debate gave me two new ways to avoid responsibility. First of all, I have the concepts of a plan, and I'm here to talk about the future. That's it. Talk does not cook rice.
All right, I'll give you a couple of my thoughts, and then I'll open it up. Because, of course, everybody's talking about who won. Based on the CNN's poll, there was no clear winner. Politico's poll calls it a draw, although 58% of independents say the Waltz won. However, the majority of independents didn't watch. If I've got to choose, I'm going to say that Vance won on style. Based on style, but Waltz won based on substance,
content.
So Variety's calling, when this is scary, is calling Vance Reagan-esque in terms of how he presented himself last night. I mean, he told a lot of lies. He said a lot of crap that wasn't true. And my favorite line of the night is, "Wait a minute, you're not supposed to be fact checking. I thought the rules."
Exactly, that was mine too. That was mine too. I love. Wait a minute. Hey, wait. This ain't fair. I was told I could lie. You can't turn the tables on me like that.
Let me ask you this question. Do you think that it is the role of a moderator in a debate to fact check while in real time?
Yes.
Yeah.
How else would the viewer know whether what's being said is true or not?
And it's just a speech. If it's not fact checked, it's just as part of a speech. It's not real.
Except for the opponent to fact check, you would think, because otherwise the problem
then it just evolves into an argument. Well, you're entitled to your own facts, and I have my own facts. Here's the alternative facts. You're supposed to have a neutral person who's paying attention. This is the role of journalism. If a politician tells you that it's raining outside, you don't just say, "Well, he said it's raining." You go fucking outside and see if it's raining, and then you come back and reports say that is true.
Or you check your app to see if it's raining.
Or you check it, whatever. You're supposed to check on these politicians. Like Barry Weintraub used to say, these guys are the best liars in their division, right?
I love that.
Their division. They're the top two liars in their division. So politicians lie, and Republican politicians, dude, they're loose. They're loose with the facts. And so, especially in this day and age of digital ridiculousness and propaganda, you have to check them. You have to check them on real time. You have to check them right away. And that's how it is. And that's how it should be. This isn't even, it's not even a question.
Well, here's why it's a question. Here's why it's a question, and I'll ask Dan this, because I agree. By the way, I'm going to tell you, I agree with you on substance that in fact they should be fact checking if you're going to lie and say that Haitian illegal immigrants are eating people's pets, and it's obviously a lie. However, what about the charges that you get that since you fact check that candidate more than that candidate, so therefore as a moderator you were biased? That's Trump's line from his debate, was that basically it was 3 against 1.
Well, I think they have to immediately point out that we're just the truth. We represent the truth. So if we hear something that is false and being portrayed as the truth, we're going to call you on it. And I think we really haven't had this problem in political debates until the Trump era. It wasn't until there was out and out lies and he didn't care about the truth that this has started. Otherwise, they were usually pretty civil, But now, because of so many lies on the Republican side, and especially in the Trump, it's just a deflection game. It's like, you ask me a question, I'm going to deflect it and go to my narrative. That seems to be what it's about.
And what kind of BS is, we told a lot of lies, and you checked us on every single one, and our opponent only told a lie or 2, and you only checked them on 2. Like, that's ridiculous. If we're fact checking you more than the other guy, stop freaking lying. Right. How hard is that?
Well,
that's one of those things where, like, we got 15 fouls, the other team only got 5 fouls. Stop fouling.
How about getting some points instead of fouls?
Well, here's the difference how it used to be, and all politicians lie. And I like the way Obama explained this. He goes, all politicians lie. They all lie or mislead or will say things that are out of context. The difference is that with these people, when they lie and you call them on it, they double down on the lie. Mm-hmm. As opposed to what would normally happen is you lie, you get caught on, no, that's not true. Here's the evidence that what you said is not true. Oh, okay, I misspoke. I made a mistake. I got the wrong information, and you move on. Whereas these people will say, no, 1 + 1 is 3. That's also your liberal narrative.
Start blaming the source of the information. Start putting mistrust in the institutions of journalism and stuff. Fake news, all this. Not even saying doubling down. But like, oh, what you're saying, who are you to say this is true? And then
lying press. Also, did JD Vance yesterday say peace through strength a couple of times?
I don't know.
Wasn't that an old Nazi slogan? Was he also going to say work makes you free?
I don't remember saying that. Wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
It wouldn't surprise me. I will tell you this, and this is a conversation that's going on today, and that is, do you think that this debate was too nice, that they were too civil with each other? I found it refreshing, to be quite honest with you, even though I don't believe a word that comes out of Vance's mouth. I mean, he's told you he'll lie if it'll bring attention to what he wants you to bring attention to. But the fact of the matter is, I like the fact that that it's like it used to be. I mean, It was a normal debate. I mean, afterwards they're shaking hands, they're introducing each other to each other's wives, as opposed to, saying somebody's evil or mentally unstable or, what is it he's calling Kamala, saying she's mentally deranged or some such nonsense.
Yeah, I thought it was refreshing too. It did remind me of the old days. Oh, my esteemed senator from blah, blah, blah has, And now it's like, you're eating cats, or she's full of shit. They say this stuff. And it's just like, whoa, because I think at the end of the day, you're like, oh, we all are Americans. And they're kind of proving it by shaking hands and being cordial that, hey, we're together in the long run. I think it conveys that warmth a little bit of fellow Americans.
I would have liked to see a little bit more humor. Like at one point, maybe Walt would have said, hey, we want to invite you and Usha over for dinner tonight. We're having poodle. Something like that.
I'll invite my couch.
Yeah, and we have a brand new couch.
I got a nice couch. You'd like to meet it.
Please excuse the plastic wrap around the couch.
No, that's a safe couch.
Safe couch, that's right. You condomized our couch.
I guess the civility was okay. And I think that that Tim Walz did a great job with the question of did Donald Trump lose in 2020?
Yes.
And
They
now
see
JD
that's
wants
a
to talk
knockout
about
punch.
the future by bringing up some shit from the past, by the way. He's like, I'm here to talk about the future. Didn't Kamala Harris do some things a while ago? Like, so I thought that was a good point. He made a good point on that. I have to admire Tim Walz's diplomacy and civility.
Yes.
It would be hard for me to not just smooth cuss him, the smooth cuss out.
He also has such a punchable face. I mean, he just has a punchable
Like Ted Cruz.
You know,
Like
he got punched a lot when he was in school.
I try not to judge people on their appearance because it's something that they can't control. Like, I'll make fun of the way you dress because you control that. Unless you're really poor, then I have sympathy. But JD Vance's eyes are very beady and very close together.
They are.
And it just bothers me.
It is kind of bit, yeah.
It just bothers me with his little beady, close together, My Chemical Romance eyes. I don't really know. It just from jump, I would not want that guy to be my lawyer. He's the definition of smarmy.
It's not very trustworthy. Yeah.
I don't like this. He's an empty vessel. That's the thing that bothers me the most. I mean, you can't go from this guy's Hitler to defending him two years later.
Whatever you want me to say, I'll say.
They offer you money and power. You can do it. Listen, we know that money and power does weird things to people.
Right.
And he's throwing his immigrant wife under the bus. When was the last time you saw her? She doesn't get to go to the rallies. No. She doesn't get to hang out.
No,
it's like an open secret that he's married to a brown woman.
You know what's interesting? It's interesting to me too is they're so anti-immigrant. He and Trump, and both of them are married to immigrants. Both of them.
That's right.
They both have wives who were born in another country. So it's. I'll take something interesting. I did a show. Don Reed is a very funny comic who's done the podcast a lot. Does this storytelling show up in Marin County, and he had this comic and by the name of Bo. I can't think of his last name. And he's a storyteller. He's been on NPR a lot. Great performer. The Moth. He's on all the time, and he's from Kentucky. He is from Hazard, Kentucky. And the people there hate JD Vance after reading Hillbilly Elegy because of the fact that he was saying, if you mention his name, he goes, my hair sets on fire because I lived there. Mm-hmm. And basically he was a tourist. Mm-hmm. He was a tourist. He came in from Ohio. He visited his grandparents, and apparently the town where his grandparents lived in London, Kentucky, while it's not Beverly Hills, it's if you live in London, Kentucky, you're considered the hoi polloi.
You're doing all right.
Wow. Basically, yeah. And so here you got a guy who lived in Ohio, who belonged to a golf club, who went to Yale, who's made millions of dollars by bad-mouthing a place where he summered.
Right.
And he just got another deal, another book deal based on the first one. If your first book does well, they offer you a Brinks truck for the second one before it's written. He's got an $8 million book deal for a second one. Now,
right.
Also the hypocrisy of taking advantage of food stamps and the GI Bill and a bunch of other federal government programs, as he did. And then he's going to try to turn around and pull the ladder up from behind him. That whole "I got mine, you get yours" vibe. It's not. We don't teach compassion or empathy. We don't teach sharing as Americans. We teach, I'm down for rugged individualism. I'm a fan, but you have to balance that with community effort and collective work and responsibility. And these guys don't seem to understand any of that.
No.
It's funny that you say that.
Crazy.
It's funny that you make that statement, considering the fact that all four of us make our living by ourselves.
I'm not in the bank because I don't want to split the money 5 ways.
We're all standing, we're all standing on a stage by ourselves to make but there's no collective work and responsibility here. We stand on a stage and hold a mic and we all work alone.
But there is collective responsibility. You expect the venue to have a nice spot for you. You expect the microphone to be good.
Yeah.
You expect the people producing the event to be nice. You know what I mean?
Collective professionalism.
You're working together. You expect the wait staff to do their jobs. You expect everybody to work together to get this thing done, right? Sure, you're ostensibly the star. You're the guy standing in front of the stage, but it's a team. It's a team to get all that shit together.
Yeah.
Especially if you have an agent. Right. I mean, I don't. If any agents would like to talk to me about this after the show, we can talk about it. But But it's always, listen, I do drugs, but shit is interconnected.
What?
We are all interdependent. You understand? And that's not a hippy dippy thing. That's not a woo woo thing. We are all together collectively in this, and we should all be working collectively to make it smooth for everybody. There's enough to go around, and this idea of scarcity and we don't have enough money to make sure children get enough to eat, but we have enough money to kill thousands of people halfway around the world,
right,
bugs me. It irks me. Well,
I'll tell you,
is very heavy right now.
You know what pissed me off last night was the fact that Vance kept blaming undocumented residents for the housing crisis. And here's the thing that nobody talks about. And that there are several companies as well as individuals who in 2008 bought thousands. The guy, you ever heard of the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad?
Yeah.
The guy who wrote that book claims that he owns 15,000 single family residences in America that he was able to buy in foreclosure using FHA loans and all this. Sean Hannity has, using government funds, by the way, FHA loans. He owns thousands of single family homes in across the Midwest and places in the Midwest. And so, they say there are certain neighborhoods that if you go to the Hall of Records and look at the deeds and stuff, in terms of ownership, all the ownerships are just the address of the place and an LLC. That's it. But that's where the scarcity is when you got a guy who's allowed to own 15,000 single family residences. And that's why, I have younger members of my family who want to buy their first home, and you can't get into an entry level home. You can't. And it's not just here in California, which is ridiculous, but most places you can't get into an entry level home. That's why there's scarcity.
And there's also this thing, Real Page. Are you familiar with them? This is an organization that through algorithms figures out what people should be able to afford in that area for that apartment. And they work with the property managers and the owners and whatnot to make sure that that's what they charge. And so the prices stay artificially high.
Isn't that price fixing?
They're being sued by the DOJ right now, as a matter of fact, for some antitrust and for some price fixing. This is one of those things where you get deep into the capitalism model. Walter Mosley wrote a novel or maybe a short story, a science fiction story years and years ago, and the whole thing was no one owned anything. You rented everything. So even if you got a job, you rented your apartment and you would have to rent furniture from these other guys. You'd have to rent this from these other guys. And that's really the model that they want. They don't want anybody to own a record, right? You have to give Spotify your money. You don't get to own your PlayStation 5 games. You just download them from the thing and they can take them from you anytime they want. This whole concept of ownership has become a thing where the companies get to own everything and you just get to rent everything from them. And that's BS.
Well, let me ask you this.
You told us not to cuss too much, so I'm going to say BS a lot.
Yeah, you can say
I'm
BS.
Surprised that you said that. That's really
that's open the line. Quite frankly,
it's nerd.
Since you were all, or we are all creatives, let me ask you about this. Then, in terms of ownership, have you any of you in any way protected your IP? Have you trademarked material that you've written? Have you copyrighted anything?
Individual penis?
Yeah.
Yes, I'm sorry, intellectual property.
Do you mean like registering scripts with the guild and stuff like that? Does that count?
Yeah. Or even stand up.
Just that level. I have done just that level. And then with record contracts for stand up, you sell some portion for certain distribution. There's a certain percentage for a certain amount of time. So I've done those types, but that's about it.
Yeah, I haven't done any of that.
It's amazing how creatives get screwed over. That's why, in terms of ownership things, that's why I read an article, but I guess it's the 20th, the 30th anniversary of the Blair Witch Project. I think it might be 30th anniversary of the Blair Witch Project. And the 3 stars of that film who were nobodies who did this indie film and did it for what was supposed to be a percentage, and they got a little bit of money, and then this went on to be the most profitable independent film in history that's made millions and millions of dollars. It's a franchise, and one of the guys is driving Uber.
Yeah,
one of the 3 stars is driving Uber. The Heather Donahue, is that her name? The woman. Yeah. She's like waiting tables or something, while all these other people got rich. I hear the same story about the music industry all the time.
Yeah.
And that's also one of those things, though, like that's a human nature thing. We do not teach sharing the wealth. We do not teach if I eat, my team eats, right? These guys, it's just exploitation. You make this movie, hey man, we're making this independent film. It's not a lot of money, but it's gonna be a good time. It's a credit, blah, blah, blah. You do that, and then it blows up, and the producers make a bunch of cash, and they don't go, hey, listen, your contract was kind of weird. Let me break you off a chunk, dog. We did hella good. We couldn't have done it without you, right? You guys were the stars. Mm-hmm. I'm just going to break you off a chunk out of what I got. I know the contract was weird, but just have some cash, man. Have some things. We don't do any of that. We don't teach any of that. You just think it's, too bad. You should have negotiated a better contract.
But also, like you said earlier, Ngaio, power corrupts. Like Billy Bob Thornton, when he first did that Sling Blade short, he promised everybody role, and then you get that deal. The label just wants to sign me, the singer, and then things kind of change around a little bit.
Right. Wait. So Sling Blade, he didn't live up to his obligations to the.
Yeah. He did a short before the movie. We all know it was like a little 10-minute thing, and he promised everybody roles, and you'll get a producer. And then when he got the deal, he didn't. Most of the people were cut out for bigger names.
Yeah, I saw Coming to America, believe it or not, for the first time. I never saw Coming to America.
Whoa, really?
So, yeah, and I didn't avoid it deliberately. I just never got around to it.
Yeah.
And it is a millennial friend of mine's favorite film. And I asked her if she knew about the Art Buchwald thing and what you guys all know the story about what it was that they pulled. It was, for those who are not familiar, it was Art Buchwald, the columnist writer, wrote a 12-page treatment and sent it to somebody at Paramount. They passed on it, and then they made Coming to America based on his 12 pages. So he sued. He was awarded a percentage of the profits. The movie made $300 million, and this is like $300 million 1980s dollars.
Right.
So this is like in the billions today. Sure. And they said the movie hadn't made a profit. And then they showed that was they didn't have to pay Buchwald because it didn't make a profit. Then they showed how Hollywood accounting works. And it's just ridiculous. I was reading James Garner's book, and he's talking about how he had to sue over the Rockford Files because he was supposed to be getting a percentage of profits. They were saying there's no profits. It's a top 10 show.
How there's no profit? That show was syndicated almost as much as the Lucy show.
Here's what he found.
You can watch the Rockford Files right now on TV. You could. Sorry.
Well, here's what he found. He was looking at the expenses they were charging, and there was a guy whose job it was to take the film every day that they shot, the dailies, and take it to the processing lab in Burbank, a half a mile away or a mile away from where it was they were shooting. And they were billing, the studio was billing his production company $5,000 every day for that guy to drive that film for half a mile or for a mile.
I wonder what they're paying that guy. He wasn't getting $4,500 off of that.
No,
man, I love for my day rate to be $5,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
I want that guy's job. Yeah.
Yeah, I want that. Yeah, I want,
nice work if you can get it.
That's
He's acting like he goes to work every day. What's my motivation? $5,000. That's my motivation.
I'm gonna get on my bike and go.
All right, so I will end this topic with this then. Okay, so everybody's saying it's a draw.
It's not a draw.
According to the polls, who? In your opinion, who won? Who won?
I don't think anybody won. I think they moved the needle either way. I don't think you can say there was a clear winner or a loser.
I would say that Tim Waltz won just because he got J.D. Vance to waffle on did Donald Trump lose the election or not. So that's automatically a win. And I think that was the biggest needle moving point for independence and people who care about.
Although he could have gone after him, there were opportunities missed. He could have gone after him for a lot of stuff when they brought up Project 2025.
Mm-hmm. They should have let me do the debate because I would have been in his ass. Sorry, I would have been all on JD Vincent.
Oh yeah,
bruh. There's so many ways you could have got that guy for his blatant hypocrisy and ridiculousness.
Right.
I agree with Brian's initial review. I thought just in looks, it was almost a reverse of the earlier debate. I thought where Kamala looked like she had the upper hand. She wasn't getting pulled in the weeds and not on the reactive defensive side. And it looked just by appearances the reversed last night, but I think Vance came off better than than I thought he would.
Yeah.
And but I
The bar
thought
was low.
Waltz has more substantive answers, and I think he sort of got his rhythm at the end. And that last blow about the election, I thought really said. But we all have a bias, so it is just opinion. Like you said, it doesn't really move the needle. These things are all really opinion. There's no official score. So we're just echo chambering here. But at first I was a little bummed, but then at the end I was like, overall, you sleep on it and stuff, and you realize, I thought it was, in our group, I thought it was pretty even, but I thought Waltz again on substance, but I thought Biden even won on substance. So
sure.
So
yeah.
Like Americans care about substance.
I know.
Yeah.
Well,
Again, everybody says these things aren't about it. It's like who comes off is like, I like them better. I believe they seem.
I want a beer. I want to have a beer,
and they seem capable.
Well, that's the thing, though. Like, you would have a beer with Tim Waltz, and you would cover your beer if JD Vance was next to you.
You would not go to the bathroom the whole
Bro,
time.
you take it with you. You'd be like, I'd rather take my beer to this stinky ass bathroom than leave it next to your funky ass.
And Vance would be going to the bathroom to reapply that mascara.
That's right. It's
What is that
eyeliner.
about?
It's
Him and Derek Carr have the same vibe. He's trying to make his small beady eyes look bigger.
I guess that's what it is, huh?
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
It makes it look deeper, more sunken in. I don't know.
I will tell you that.
I think that I was disappointed they both went very safe and had the double Windsor knot on their ties.
Yeah.
I think the double Windsor is an excellent choice.
I think it's an excellent choice for mid-America, but if you want to look a little bit more, metrosexual, you go with a single.
I like to
I
go.
do
You
a
like the
half
single Windsor?
I can only do a half Windsor. It's called a half Windsor. Oh, that's the only one I can do.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like a red-breasted nippy two. That's a real. It's from England. I'll explain that one later.
You don't rock the four in hand? You don't do the four in hand, Tony Camin? You just rock the double Windsor, the full Windsor? I like a full Windsor knot. I'm not going to lie.
I like to see an ascot every now and then.
I wear an ascot.
Do you wear an ascot, dude?
You've seen me.
Elise.
Yeah.
I like a monocle and an ascot.
That's a story with Bud Friedman and the monocle.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like a trademark thing, and apparently, I don't know if this is true or not. I've heard it from comics and the improv that the reason that he has a monocle is because he did some little movie like in the early 70s, and his character wore a monocle, and so he started doing it so that he could be recognized for being
as the monocle guy.
Hey,
you're the guy with the monocle.
trademark.
Yes, I am.
So, no talent and the monocle. I see.
Hey, he's got talent enough. His talent lay in opening comedy clubs and getting shit on TV. That is a whole different talent, bro.
That's right.
So, we've all got skills, right?
Yes.
Once again, it's teamwork. You work together. You got to work with that guy so you can get your thing on the thing. What do they say? If you're funny and likable, you're a comic. If you're funny and not likable, you're a writer. If you're likable and not funny, you're the DJ. And if you're not likable and not funny, you own the club. Now, look.
I've never heard that before. But it's quite true.
No offense, Tom Sawyer.
Yeah, no offense at all.
That's hilarious. I've never heard that before.
I'm staying muted, I see.
I'll never work at Cobb's again.
The thing that's
I'll be at Cobb's in
crazy.
November.
Well, you'll get your plug at the end. Just hang loose.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry.
You get your plug at the end. But the other thing that continues to drive me crazy is, Kamala Harris says she's going to do this, that, and the other thing. Well, she's had 3.5 years. Why didn't she do it? Do you guys know what the vice president does? Do you know you're running for vice president? Do you know what the job entails? It entails pretty much going to funerals, standing in at ceremonial things for the president, and sitting around in case the president coughs.
I think she did this podcast a couple times, right?
Pardon?
I think she's done this podcast a couple times. I mean, there's a lot
more
of
than
time.
She's a regular. At least she was a regular. Actually, she used to do my radio show all the time when she was the DA of San Francisco. She used to do it all the time.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's a nice thing.
All the time.
It's funny how these cats don't have concept of high school physics, right?
Yeah.
There's no Schoolhouse Rock anymore. You don't get
You
to
mean
the Bill song.
not physics, civics.
Oh, I meant to say civics. Did I say
Or
physics?
English, apparently.
That's because you do drugs. Like you said.
Yeah. Listen, I'm very, very civil in my, I don't know. I lost that thread. But no, it's high school civics, man. Do you know? Yeah, exactly. Do you know what the role of the vice president is? You're here to break ties in the Senate and to take over. Somebody dies and go to funerals and weddings, and that's it. And so his whole pounding of you had 3.5 years to change shit, and you haven't done it, which is not necessarily true because the
Also,
Biden administration has gotten a lot of things done, more things done than the Trump administration did, for sure.
And they had 4 years previous to do things which they didn't do.
And also, JD Vance, why are you on this podium? What happened to Mike Pence?
Oh, that was another good one too.
Yeah,
Did something happen? Is there a reason he's not here?
Did you ever in your life?
I heard he couldn't hang.
Did you? Did you ever in your life think you'd be on the same side as Dick Cheney, the same side of an issue as Dick and Liz Cheney of anything? I never thought. I never thought I'd be on that team.
It's like politics. If that saying is true, politics in bedfellows. You're like, Jesus, what a crazy thing. You wake up in bed next to goddamn Dick Cheney.
That's how serious it is. That's how serious it is.
It took a megalomaniac to bring us all together.
It's the Republicans should be embarrassed that Dick Cheney has to stump for Kamala Harris.
Mm-hmm.
They should be embarrassed as a team and as a group.
Whatever real Republicans are left. Yeah.
I mean, the fact that we're on I was reading a thing today about the strange bedfellows. So you got Dick Cheney and Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
Working together on the same side. Cheney and
the Dick Taylor ticket. It's one of those things looking to the future, though. Like the way the Republicans are going, they're not going to have much left, and the Democrats, who are way more centrist than they used to be, are going to be they're almost like the old GOP, right? And then that would leave space for a way more leftist party, which I don't think is going to happen because you can't get the corporate money that you need these days in politics. But in my dreams, there would be a new, more progressive party. The Republicans wouldn't exist, and the Democrats would be considered the right wingers.
Well, Liz Cheney says that there needs to be a new conservative party, that they're going to have to build one. The Republican brand is.
I think she's right about that. How can you rehabilitate MAGA?
Well, they were McCarthyists in the 50s, and the image was rehabilitated. So anything can happen. People, you got to remember, people have short memories. Yeah, I mean, I was looking at a video just kind of a real quick refresher memory, and it was started on day one where Sean Spicer was saying that there was the most people at that inauguration in Indian history, and all the stuff we forgot. It just went thing by thing by thing by thing by thing. Him shoving other world leaders out of the way so he can all that stuff. I mean, we forgot all that stuff.
I didn't forget.
Yeah.
Oh, there's stuff you forgot. There's no way you could remember it all.
I forgot a lot of stuff, but I didn't forget January 6th, which is crazy because on January 7th, how many people were like, well, Trump's done. That's it.
Yeah.
This is the thing. And he didn't. Like, it's just like, it's like, you see, and it's overused to see like, oh, Hitler. But to see someone so nationalist that people just throw, it's on the roofs of houses in my wife's in Wisconsin, Trump, like, I never saw any of that before. Like the cultism of this guy, it's crazy.
Well, I was reading just something today about people like that, people who are demagogues, who are
that's the word.
They attract people who would like to be them, or people who are like them, people who are forceful in nature, people who are they're the leader of the family. They make all the decisions. He attracts people like that. So you got the macho Latino vote, right?
The macho everything vote.
Yeah, exactly. Every macho guy thinks he's cool, right? Because
but that's all. It's so fear based.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
Fear-based, and you know what?
It's just fear based, and they're putting their fears on people who aren't the problem.
And it's also
You should be afraid of these crazy ass giant corporations who pretty much are trying to force America into even more of an oligarchy than it already is.
Yeah.
Well, I saw an MOS, that man on the street thing they did with a bunch of Republicans who were waiting to go in, a bunch of MAGAs. I'm not going to say Republicans because I know lots of Republicans who are not MAGA, but a bunch of MAGAs getting ready. Yeah, I do. Who are getting ready to go.
Are they still supporting Trump?
No. Okay. Not the Republicans, but so I know some who are.
Well, are they going to vote for Kamala Harris?
they're gonna see. Here's the thing that they won't admit to it, but I think they will. They'll say they're not going to vote for Trump. They'll write somebody else. They'll write in Mickey Mouse or something. But they don't.
That's easy in California. But if you live in a swing state, dog, don't muck about. Right? If you live in Georgia or Arizona or Michigan or Wisconsin, don't be fooling around. Don't be fooling around. Get it together.
Georgia was this brings me to another story that I had today. There was a guy who was born in Mississippi and moved to Georgia and lived in Georgia for several decades, built a business, was very successful. Because a hurricane or something, he recently, like in the last couple of weeks, has moved back to Mississippi, bought property there, and that's where he's going to retire. And he come to find out, because he had committed some felonies in Mississippi, felonies that he went to jail for, and served a sentence and was over before he moved. 40 years ago, he's banned for life from voting.
Yeah.
And apparently there are 11 states in this country where if you are convicted of a felony, you cannot vote for the rest of your life. I think it's just ridiculous. I'm voting for all these years.
It's racism.
Well, that's part of that. That's what my understanding is where it came from, because of the incarceration of black people. It's another way to make sure that the black vote is suppressed.
Absolutely.
What's even the logic behind that? Like,
I don't know.
The
logic is keeping black people from voting. First, we're going to throw them all in jail for felonies, and then when they get out, we're going to keep them from having a voice in the politics.
No reason.
That is the reason.
No, I mean, what's their stated reason for it?
Because you're a criminal, you don't get to vote.
But
you don't get to say.
I've served my time.
Right. Right.
You expect shit to make sense?
That's crazy.
Well,
listen, if we expecting logic and reason and science to carry the day, we would not have these problems.
Especially in the southeastern part of this country.
Yeah.
We would not have these problems if we expected, if science and logic and reason were actually things we paid attention to and things we went by, we would not have these problems.
Or decency.
Right? We like greed, we like power.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? We like racism with a little sexism on the side, or sexism with a little racism on the side. They're kind of intertwined a lot of ways. These are the things that we allow to control us. And these are the things that cloud our judgment collectively as a country. Right?
All right, so what's the solution?
That's what we have to work on.
So what's the solution? That's the thing. It's always been that way.
More white immigrants. That's what we need.
Well, he said that at a rally, like yesterday or the day before yesterday, he was going on and on and on about, I'm talking about Trump. It was a rally or a speech or something where he was on one of these tangents, praising the people of Norway and Denmark and saying that they should immigrate here. And then in the next breath going on.
Why do they want to come here? They don't have socialized health care.
About the danger of people from the Congo. He was talking about the danger of people from the Congo coming here. But we need more people from like Norway.
I think the freaking Norwegians want to live in America. First of all, it's not cold enough.
Hell no. I want to move there.
How could you be undecided? That's what
I don't understand. That is my number one question. It's not like there's so much overlap that you're looking for nuance.
It's not like, well, they both have good policies, so
Yes. How can you not know? I mean, that makes no sense to me at all.
It's crazy. It's just
because you won't let go of your racism and your sexism. The whole reason Trump became president was because Barack Obama did a good job, and everybody was like, "Well, if a college-educated black man can do a job like this, then any random white dude off the street." In some ways, somebody pointed out, I can't remember who it was. In some ways, it is the American dream. When they say that anybody can be president, Trump freaking proved it. Right? Anybody can just show up.
Well, he's not
doesn't mean they'll be good at it.
Anybody who inherited $400 million. But see, here's what you're overlooking, though, when you say that, is that there were, and this is something else I don't get. There were people who voted for Obama twice and then voted for Trump.
Yeah, because
you can't just say the racism.
Because of the sexism.
So that's the reason why. Because of the sexism.
Yes. Because of the sexism.
Well, that is
with the side of the racism too. Like, oh, listen. The black man did it. We can't have a black man and then a woman. This whole country will fall apart. We have to have a black man, then a white guy, and then maybe a few more white guys. And then maybe we can think about a woman 50 years from now.
52% of white women voted for Donald Trump in 2016. 52% of white women.
Yeah.
After the grab them from the hoo-ha video audio came out, they turned around and they voted. And when you talk to them, when you hear interviews with them, they say, well, because they'll get asked, well, didn't you want to see a woman? Wouldn't you like to see a woman? Yeah, but not that woman.
Yeah.
That's always the excuse.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? There have been, I don't know if you heard, but there have been calls for Trump to step down from the human race. So hopefully,
Is there a petition? Because I'll sign that. I'll sign that.
Really. Decide. His family members are whispering, All
right, let's move on. And other news, some news that I'm quite frankly glad to hear. According to the investment giant Fidelity, the value of Twitter, now known as X, has dropped by 80% since Elon Musk bought it. It's worth 80% less than it was on the day that he purchased it. And the reason is because advertisers do not want to be associated with the hate speech and with misinformation. So that's why 80% it's dropped. And I'm curious between the three of you, have you in any way, shape, or form changed or curtailed your Twitter participation since Musk has owned it?
I have not. I was not an avid Twitter guy before, although I looked at it more often. Ever since Musk took over, I went to Threads, and I seldom look at Twitter unless it's a link from something else I'm reading that takes me there to watch a video. I never go on there.
So you don't have an account?
I do have an account, but I never use it. It's still there, I suppose. I don't know.
Not after what you just said, is not.
Good. I don't care.
It's gone now.
I don't care. I mean, talk about a racist, Elon Musk, for God's sake.
Well, there are people, I was reading, people are, I talked about this last week, that there are people in Beverly Hills who are dumping their Teslas and, who are walking away from leases. I mean, it's like once he started opening his mouth, he alienated a lot of people. Especially with him and Trump on Twitter, laughing about union busting.
Yeah. Exactly.
I think like Ngaio said about how the power corrupts, it's interesting to watch Elon Musk and how it happens to him. How it didn't just corrupt him maybe commercially, but just his mental, his like state where he started to do these good things for medical devices and mining things. And then his opinion, he just thinks more of his opinion, and he buys Twitter, and then he kind of does like a lot of these white rich guys. They start veering right, who have somewhat of a format, they start veering right because they're rich white guys. That's what
you mean the Emerald Mine heir from South Africa?
Yeah.
From apartheid era South Africa still harbors some racist sentiment.
Yeah, he did take that money and want to do good. So he was medical devices, and he did develop some stuff, and he did do some drilling things that we even used that were apparently good. But then he just started going. You could just see him. Oh, electric car, that's good for the environment. And then his opinions started getting out there. And then you're just like, oh, even these smart guys, power corrupts. And he just became like his thoughts became so important. And they're, and you could just see it just go downhill as he.
But has it really corrupted, or has it just been that he's now opening his mouth?
That's a good, who knows?
Because you didn't hear, like I was watching The Big Bang Theory the other day, a rerun of not rerun, that's showing my age. I was watching on Max from maybe 10 years ago, and there is a Thanksgiving episode where he does a cameo where he plays himself and he's working in a soup kitchen. For Thanksgiving, because that's how he gives back.
That's on
and
TV.
I remember seeing it when it first.
He's no Dave Grohl.
I remember seeing it when it first came out, and it was just like, oh wow, because we looked at him in such a different way, but you didn't hear much from him. That was the whole thing. I didn't know what he believed. I didn't know what he thought. I mean, he had this reputation for being a genius and being an innovator and all this other stuff. And then, once it is better to keep your mouth shut. Quite frankly, in a lot of cases, because people do not look at him positively.
I firmly believe, and I cannot prove this, but I firmly believe that he bought Twitter at the behest, like him and some of his richer cronies, because they definitely overpaid for it. And the thing about Twitter, I'm chronically online. I'm on Twitter way more than I should be probably. But the thing that I've always enjoyed about Twitter is it's a global frequency, right? So whenever something pops off in the world, somebody is there. Somebody on Twitter is there. So you get a live firsthand report. You get a bunch of live firsthand reports from a bunch of different people, from journalists, from scientists, from just some random dude on the street who's doing it. Twitter was also a great tool. If you remember the Ferguson protests, if you remember the Black Lives Matter protests in 2020, all that
Arab
stuff.
Spring. We found out Arab Spring. That was
all
the
that
first
stuff.
real, you know.
Twitter was a great progressive, anti-authoritarian organizing tool. Right. And he bought it, him and the Saudis, because the Saudis loaned him a lot of money. And I'm pretty sure a few Russians loaned him money too. They didn't buy Twitter to make Twitter better. They bought Twitter to make Twitter worse, to make it harder to use as an organizing and a community building tool.
Okay, so why hasn't Threads caught on?
Because Facebook is bullshit. Threads is owned by Facebook. Those guys censor everything. Not censor everything, but you can't post pictures of weed on Threads. You can't post all your other things, and you can't post crazy community uprisings and things that are going on around the world on Threads. Threads is juvenile. It's surface level. Twitter, we used to get deep. People used to get deep on Twitter. We get into big, giant conversations and have all kind of things about making the world better. And now you can't do it. You go to your For You thing, and it's all just right-wingers populating your thing. I don't even want to talk to those guys. I follow a few right-wingers because I like to know what the other side is talking about. I like to do a little Oppo research. But they've just made it so hard to use, and it's buggy now. It's not as smooth as it used to be. And they did that on purpose. They did it on purpose so you can't use it as an organizing tool.
You know, I'm curious, have any of you ever been on, because I have not, I ever been on either Truth Social or 4chan?
I've been on 4chan a little bit.
Yeah.
Have you? Why? What's it like? What did you see? Is it crazy?
Yeah, I was a part of this Bay Area group called I don't know, so I should say it, Weaponized Soccer Moms. They were Facebook, and they were kind of conspiracy theorists.
Weaponized Soccer Moms.
Yeah, and it was some lady out of Marin, and they were just questioning. It came kind of out of Pizzagate, but a lot of them were reasonable. Like, well, it didn't turn out to be any, okay, this guy shot him up, and there was nothing there. But then there was like some of them like, well, was there? It kept kind of going, and then Q popped up, QAnon, and they got all into Q, this whole thing. So they would talk about 4chan. So I would go over there and look. Yeah, it was just great. It's just the worst stuff. It's just like, you're like, whoa.
Like what kind of stuff? Do you remember anything specifically?
There was stuff like child.
Tom Hanks is a pedophile.
Yeah, the worst. That was even on normal. That's just on normal.
That was on Twitter. That was
all the androquinone,
adrenochrome.
And
Hillary Clinton drinks baby blood.
Baby blood.
Everything that you hear Roseanne Barr say, that was
the audio of Podesta attacking a child. Some audio file, but it's just like, I'm gonna get you, kid. Whatever. Just the craziest. And I was just like, do these people believe this, or is this just misinformation? It's because it's so crazy,
Yeah, it's amazing how crazy people are out there that we didn't know about before, but suddenly we know about them now.
It's scary.
Well, it's easy to be crazy behind a screen and just do these mean things, but I'm like, are these my neighbors? Are these people I see in the market? Right. Like these people are just saying these insane things.
Yeah, well, the thing that's frightening about it is just that how easy it is to get that mob after you. And because if they decide that they're going to come after you, I know someone, and I'm not going to go into it, but I know someone who's just being completely smeared on Twitter, on Facebook. There are podcasts that are devoted, not podcasts, but YouTube shows that have tens of thousands of followers that are all designed specifically to smear this individual.
Bill Cosby.
No, it's not somebody famous. That's the thing.
No.
It's not somebody famous. And if I mention it, everyone will go look at it. And I don't want to give these assholes clicks. No. But it's just, Lori Kilmartin got doxxed. I didn't know that. Did you know that she got doxxed?
Yeah.
On Hannity, I think.
It was a joke that she said. What was the joke she said? I want to have a Republican get pregnant by a Republican.
Just so I could abort or whatever. It was the whole point of it was a joke. And then Hannity said, who comes up with it? You can't come up with this stuff. Like, she literally did, because it was a joke.
Yeah.
Right. She literally did come up with it.
Yeah.
It's creation.
How bad did it get? I mean, was she worried about security? Did she get threats?
Yeah, she got like shit. She got doxxed. She got a flood of stuff. She's pretty tough, so I think she took it in stride, seriously, but didn't let her get her down. She's a real trooper. She digs in deep, like, her and Ngaio, they'll engage in these, back and forth with people. I'm just like, there for the grace of God, thank you for doing that, because I am such a slow typist and there's so much. I'm still one finger, and they say everything I could have said it better. So I do appreciate that there's people on the front lines there.
I'll send you an invoice, Tony.
Thank you.
There,
because it's work, and you, like, Lori does amazing stuff, but like you said, all this Hannity blowback where she was like, you get when some community against you, and there's such a, online now, it's everybody. It's one
of those things too, and I know we kind of closed this JD Vance conversation down, but the stochastic terrorism from Springfield, Ohio, when they're like, oh well, all the immigrants in Ohio, they're taking everybody's job and they're causing crime and all this stuff, and then all of a sudden now you got bomb threats. Right. Now you got to close the schools. Now the guy who was hiring the immigrants, you got to close the hospitals. You got to close the guy who was hiring a bunch of immigrants who invited people, like, because his business was dying and the immigrant showed up and saved his business. He voted for Trump twice, and now they're bomb threatening his thing, and now they're coming after him. It's right. He's supposed to be on their side. They're supposed to be on his side. Yeah, but no. So
same thing in Arlington. Remember the woman who stopped Trump, who was trying to stop Trump from having that photo op at Arlington, refused to give her name because she didn't want to get that blowback.
No, you don't want that problem.
So that's a form of power in itself. That you're allowed to do things because people are afraid to say no.
Well, I was thinking about there's I'm doing this political show I did 4 years ago called The Great American Shit Show, and it's monologues on life in the age of Trump, and I brought it back. I thought I was done and would never have to do it again, but I brought it back. And one of the things I talk about is what's happened to all of the women over the course of the last 4 years who have come forward. E. Jean Carroll won that multi-million-dollar defamation suit, but she's in hiding because of all of the Twitter mob who are out to get her, and they doxed her and everything else. Stormy Daniels is getting tens of thousands of emails, texts, tweets, you name it, threatening to rape and kill her and her 13-year-old daughter. Yeah. So it's like any woman, who's the next woman who's gonna come forward? No one's Christine Blasey Ford. You've got Brett Kavanaugh on the U.S. Supreme Court. She and her family are practically in witness protection. Because of, again, the mob. So who's ever going to open their mouth about how they were treated by anyone who's associated with that? And that kind of intimidation works, and that's scary. Yeah, that's really scary, and there's no way to regulate it. So so there's no solution. It's just something we got to live with.
And it only seems to be coming from one side, It really does.
No. Trump got shot because of rhetoric from the left.
That's what they said.
He got shot at by a right winger, and then he didn't get shot at. He got stalked by some dude who was just objectively having a hard time.
He got dinged by a nut job.
He didn't. First of all, he did not get shot. He got shot at.
Right.
There's a difference, right? He was not shot. He was not shot in the ear. I don't know where that fake blood came from.
See, that's the thing too, because I can't speak for the rest of you. I can't probably, I guess, Dan, but I was a little kid and remember when Martin Luther King got shot. I remember when Bobby Kennedy got shot. I remember when Ronald Reagan got shot, and you had X-rays on the 6 o'clock news and a doctor explaining exactly what happened, exactly what the damage was. Here's what the treatment was. None of that. Got none of that here. So if he was, I'm not going to jump in this conspiracy and say that, no, he wasn't shot. I'm just saying it's different from everything that I've ever seen in my life when a politician got shot.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm not saying there's a conspiracy either, but there'll probably be about 2 more attempts before the election.
What's the over-under? What's the over-under? If Pete Rose was here, he could give us an over-under.
Yeah.
Rest in peace, Pete Rose.
See, now the Secret Service will be knocking on your door because of what you just said. Speaking of which, too.
They watch this show, Brian?
Everybody watches the show. I was reading the thing about Kathy Griffin. Finally feels like she's coming back. And I was just really surprised. Were you surprised what happened to her? You know, how she basically got blackballed, because of that picture. I mean, it was in poor taste, but in the Secret Service knocking on the door, that wasn't that constitutes a death threat.
She's got a show coming up in San Francisco, and this is probably the best place to start again with regards to what happened to her.
The Secret Service is paid to take things way too seriously, so I don't really have a problem with them visiting her after that. They're kind of supposed to. I mean, you're not really.
Yeah, I
don't think she was in any danger, but they have to be. If someone says some shit like that or posts a picture like that, that is their job to show up and be like, hey, chill out.
And you can't go, okay, well, she's a celebrity, you don't have to worry, because John Wilkes Booth was a celebrity. People don't realize that.
They visited Ted Nugent too when he brought out some to suck on this, Obama and Michelle. So and he said, they visited. So they take that stuff seriously. But I thought just career-wise, she was over-vilified. I mean, same with the guy in Tenacious D. Just make a joke to your own base, or whatever. And then people are like, oh, she wants to kill the president. I think that, and then the same people scream free speech. So I think it's such a BS,
Well, here's the thing. Free speech is great. It does not mean consequence-free speech. There's going to be consequences.
And she
as a cannabis activist for 30 years, and I feel like it definitely was slightly detrimental to my comedy career because I was very vocal on social justice and cannabis activities.
You were very high and couldn't remember your material. That's what the deal was.
I know my jokes. I know your jokes. I could probably do Dan's jokes from 1987. My memory is freaking great. I'm a professional. I'm hilarious.
Let's hear you do Wine Load.
But now you're beloved in all these hemp-friendly countries. You're like an ambassador. You're like your spokesman. So it paid off in the big game.
You're playing along.
But
now they want a young Ngaio Bealum.
Well, you got to drink some of that blood of the Democrats have it.
At the pizza parlor where all the kids are being held.
I'll dox the address.
Well, I just smoke weed, you guys. I don't mess with any other drugs, especially from the adrenal gland.
Nature's kale, marijuana.
Okay, other big story this morning. More than 100 men and women are expected to have obtained counsel and are expected to pursue new allegations and civil action against Diddy for a number of things, including violent sexual assault or rape, sexual abuse, facilitating sex with controlled substances, false imprisonment, compelling prostitution, sexual misconduct, dissemination of video recordings, and sexual abuse of minors.
Improper disposal of a flag.
Loitering.
I'm blaming Harvey Weinstein and Jeffrey Epstein because once he found out about them, he said, hell, I got to up my game.
Anything you can do, I can do better. I can do anything better than you.
But here's what's amazing to me is you have all of these celebrities who are now backing away from him, who you're finding out were at these parties. I mean, Leonardo DiCaprio talks about having been at one of the parties. Usher lived with him. I guess Usher lived with him for a while. It was at a number of the parties. They asked Usher, "Would you let your teenage son go to one of his parties?" He goes, "Hell no." I can't talk about what happened.
Justin Bieber still got PTSD from it. Right? Justin Bieber. No. Justin Bieber was under Puffy's wing for a little while too. Like the dude is pernicious.
All right. So here's my question then. This went on, and to the extent with which it went on and how many people were involved, both as victims, people who were trafficked. And I'm going to say allegedly because he hasn't been convicted of anything yet.
Yep.
But come on, when there's 120 people, come on. Yeah. But Leonardo DiCaprio is one of the biggest stars in the world. How could all these people be involved in this or know about this stuff? Even if they weren't involved, they still knew about it. And nobody say anything.
Blackmail and violence. We got you on videotape doing this freaky ass shit. So if you come up to us and try to start something, we're just start releasing things. Also, he's alleged to have been the impetus behind the Tupac problems. Puff Daddy is also alleged to have blown up Wiz Khalifa's car as a direct threat to some things. Wiz Khalifa talks about it. He doesn't bring it up much anymore. The guy had enough money to have you disappear. So you could bring it up. Like, you could be like, hey, man, this is not cool. I'm going to the press. And be like, well, you could go to the press one time, and then your face is going to be on a wall, and we're going to be having car washes to pay for your funeral. So, what do you want to do about it?
Very
It's hard to do. And so now that everybody's kind of teamed up, a couple of people broke the dam, and now everybody showed up like, yeah, man, he did this shit to me too. Yeah, he did this to me too. And that's how it goes, man. You can get away with things only for so long. Like Bill Cosby got away with things for 40, 50 years.
Catholic Church.
The Catholic Church is still getting away with things. The Southern Baptist congregation is still getting away with a bunch of things. The Jehovah's Witnesses get them more. Don't get me started. Like, people get away with it for a long time because they have money and power, and they can make problems and people disappear.
Have you seen that
challenges?
Right.
Have you seen that documentary on Netflix? And I'll preface this by saying that I am a Catholic and I'm a practicing Catholic to this day. But there was and I tell you the name of the documentary. So it was 6 months ago, about a young girl, high school age, who disappeared at the Vatican, like in the 70s or the 80s, has vanished, disappeared. And there apparently has been some cover up that goes all the way up to the, that every pope has known what's happened to her. Or if you bring, you just have to go look it up. Go to Netflix and Google it. So it's with the documentaries. But apparently it's a very famous story because I'd never heard of it before. But her parents just want closure. They just want to know what happened to our daughter.
I'm just surprised it's a girl. That's the only thing that's surprising.
I wonder if Father Guido Sarducci is covering the story for the Vatican newspaper.
Observo Romana.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
It's just one of those things.
I'm surprised. You still go to mass every Sunday?
No.
Oh,
you speak Latin?
No, I never. That's before me. That's before I was post Vatican too. When I was coming up, it was when they were, when masses were people with acoustic guitars singing songs from Godspell.
Yeah, day by day.
Yeah,
I had to go to a funeral and a wedding a couple of weeks ago within 3 days of each other, and both of them were Catholic masses. And I felt that there should be a law that if you have to go to another mass within 3 days, you should get after the first one, you should get a get out of mass free card that you can show. And then we'll meet you later over at the coffee shop or something like that. But I'm not going through this twice.
Well, I will say when I say I'm practicing, maybe I'm exaggerating a little bit. I did go frequently until the shutdown. And I have not, I've been Ash Wednesday to get my ashes and stuff like that since then. But
maybe you don't need to practice anymore. Maybe you're good at it.
I've got it down. I've got it down. But I've thought about, but my whole thing was that entire religion was basically a spreader event. You walk in, you stick your hands in water that everybody else has had their hand in, then you put it on your face. Mm-hmm. Then you go in and you squeeze in a pew and everybody's singing and you're next to each other. Then there's the sign of peace, you're shaking hands, and then you get somebody touching something that they're putting in your mouth. I mean, it was a spreader event, And so I was kind of freaked out even, once they opened it up.
Puffy throws different kinds of spreader events.
All right, here's a story that I like that I'm going to throw out because I'm just curious as to how ethical you gentlemen are. Elderly,
I got a glitch in my thing. It's glitchy.
Elderly Vietnamese woman in Shrewsbury, Massachusetts, elderly, in her 80s, I believe, doesn't trust banks. So she carries her life savings with her in an envelope everywhere she goes. It's $12,000 that she carries around in an envelope. And the plan is to eventually use that money to help her children and her grandchildren. So one day she's out running errands, doing things, and loses it. The envelope disappears. And she's freaked out and she's panicked. And so eventually she retraces her steps. She goes back to the grocery store where she'd been earlier that day, some supermarket. And the manager says, "Oh, yes, you I guess dropped this in the parking lot." And somebody turned it in, a gentleman turned it in because he wanted to make sure that it went back to its rightful owner. And of the 12 grand, not a penny was missing. Not a cent was missing.
That's beautiful.
Now, so my question is this. If you were walking through the parking lot of, Safeway, Lucky's, wherever, and you found an envelope with no identification, no name, nothing on it, just a white envelope, open it up, and there's 12 grand in cash in it, what would you do?
I would turn it in. If it was just loose cash, without the envelope, just cash on the street, that's one thing. But the fact that somebody actually put it all in an envelope means it belongs to somebody, right? I do what they did.
So if it was loose cash, it wouldn't belong to somebody?
Well, no, it would belong to somebody, but there's no way, you see a $50 bill on the floor and there's nobody around, you're going to pick it up and go, well, here's a free $50 bill. But if it's in an envelope and you're in the parking lot of a supermarket, if it's $12,000, you're for sure going to go back in and say, hey, listen, somebody must have dropped this because they took.
I would go back in and be like, somebody dropped this $10,000.
Yeah. Yeah,
I think
I found $10,000 in the parking lot, so I'm turning it back in.
I think that makes.
I like to do the Christian thing.
It's in the bag. You go to the manager, tell him, but also you understipulate. I'd be very clear. If no one claims it in a couple weeks,
yeah,
it doesn't.
Somebody's going to claim it. Somebody's going to claim it, unless it's drug money or something.
Yeah, but there's every day.
Well, $12,000 is really drug money. Like if I found a briefcase with $100,000, I would probably turn that in faster because I don't want the mafia after me than if I found an envelope for $10,000. But no, really, I found $10,000. It was $12,000. I found $10,000 in the parking lot. Here you go. Because you want a finder's fee, and I'm broke, man. And these cats don't always you do the right thing, and they don't break you off 10%. They don't give you a chunk.
And she never got the name. She never met the man who turned it in, doesn't know his name, so she can't give a reward.
Did she even try to offer? They're like, hey man, come forward. I got $500 and some cookies for you.
Well, she said thank you, just that, that's all the money she had in the world.
Yeah, right. So I found $10,000 in the parking lot. I'm not trying to front. I'm an American.
I wonder how many times that bag isn't.
And the manager will be like, yeah, did you drop $8,000? We have it for you right here.
You know what I mean? Like,
because I swore there were $6,000 in the
this is a nice story, but I wonder how many times the bag isn't turned in when one is found. Is this like one?
Listen, some people will be like, hey, dude, you found $12,000. Don't block your blessings.
Yeah. Right? So I just wondered how
the universe is trying to hook you up.
If this happens 1,000 times, one time this lady does it, it's it's done the right thing is done. Just in human nature.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it reminds me of a story my grandma told me. My grandma was a single mother who raised my mother all by herself, and she worked at a cleaners back in maybe the 50s or the 60s. She spent 15 years working pressing clothes on the cleaners, and there was just a period of time. There was like a week or a weekend or something coming up, and she was broke. Completely broke and wondering how she's going to feed my mom. And she was pressing a sport coat or something, and she flipped it over, and there was $100 bill. And that's exactly it. She looked at it and said that was a blessing from God because of the fact that, she was able to feed my mother. Right. She was able to feed my mother and buy milk and stuff over the weekend because somebody left $100 bill. Now, I don't know what are the ethics of that? I mean, whose coat it is because it's it's at the cleaners and it's who it belongs to. I mean, what are the ethics of that?
I mean, one time I was out of weed. No, there's a point to the story. I'm in Wenatchee, Washington. I'm out of weed, and I was like, "Hey, universe, I need some weed." This is back in the '90s, back when you couldn't just find weed in small towns. It wasn't legal in Washington. And then walking back after the show, walking back to the hotel, walking up the steps, there was a bag of weed on the stairs. Right.
Whoa.
So I took half of it and left the other half because the person's going to come back, and I figure you come back to half a bag of weed. But then, so like a year later, I had gone to Portland to get my favorite weed from one of these dudes, and I'm driving back, and I went to this restaurant, and I left my backpack in the restaurant, right? And then I came back, and I was like, hey, where's my backpack? And they're like, it was right here. And half the weed was in there. And I was like, that's fair. That's fair, right? Half the weed, like I took half the weed. That other guy, this guy took half my weed. It's my fault for leaving my $12,000 or for leaving my backpack.
But that's how good the weed is. You're gonna leave your fucking weed. That's how good the weed.
Dude, that Portland weed was crazy. That dude retired. He would harvest twice a year.
I think I even remember you telling me about him back in the day. You were making some special trip, and I'm like, no, you're like, no.
Portland Magic Harvest, dog. We used to drive. I used to drive 10 hours to get that. That shit was so.
You know, and actually too, I think that's
how I made friends. I stunk up the whole apartment building and made a bunch of friends.
I want to end the show with this, and I should have done this last week. You made me think about this. About 3 weeks ago, a comic we came up with in the 80s, Perry Kurtz.
Kurtz, rest in peace.
Perry Kurtz was killed in Los Angeles after a gig. Got hit by a hit-and-run driver, and I guess they caught. It was an 18-year-old kid, and I guess they caught him. And what made me think about Perry was that Perry made a lot more money selling weed than he did telling jokes.
Yeah.
Because that was the whole thing about Perry Kurtz in the 80s, is that he got pot from Mars. That was the first thing I ever heard about.
He did have pretty good weed. I'm not gonna lie.
Was that Perry Kurtz used to get pot from Mars? But anyway, his remember that Love Connection thing? He went in the Love Connection and
Shoshana.
He would show it.
He closed that deal, by the way.
He would show that VHS tape during his act, right?
And who could forget the Perry cycle, huh? He'd pull up in front of the Holy City Zoo on the Perry cycle.
Of course.
Give me a long typed out intro on a 3x5 card. X. Pause.
It'll tell you where to pause. Pause.
Stripper.
Pause.
Well, I guess he started in strip clubs. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yes, he did.
Columbus.
And he used to host the exotic erotic Halloween Bowl.
Yeah, that was a big deal back in the day.
It was a big deal back in the day. I was 18 years old when he was the MC and got me in when I was 18 years old, and I saw some stuff I'd never seen in my life.
Packed that expo center, which held a lot of people, just packed with half naked people and Perry Kurtz.
and
it was half naked even when he was
all the erections went away as soon as he hit the stage.
In fact, that's where Diddy got the idea.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Diddy Kurtz.
All right, guys, we're out of time. Where's everybody playing? And Ngaio, you were saying you got Cobbs coming up?
I do have Cobbs coming up November 1st and 2nd with Brian Posehn. Also, October 18th and 19th, I will be at the Deaf Puppy Comedy Club in Manteca, California. Shout out to Chris Teixeira, a comedian who opened a club. We always try to support that sort of thing.
That's right.
And then the week after that, which is the 25th, 26th, I will be at Chadwick's in Medford, Oregon.
Have you got a website that people can go to see where you're?
You can go to my Instagram. It's got most of the stuff.
Okay,
you think 35 years in the biz, I would have a website, but I'm lazy. Listen, if anybody knows how to use WordPress, call me up and offer me reasonable rates, because I have a site. I just don't put anything on it.
Just go on Fiverr.
The WordPress UI to be difficult.
Just go on Fiverr. Go on Fiverr. You'll find somebody in Cambodia who will do it for you for like $19, and they'll do a good job.
That's oppressive.
And he'll do a good job.
Okay, I'll check it out.
So, okay, Dan, anything coming up?
Yeah, I'm going to be at the Setup, and that is, and I'm looking it up right now, in the city on October 25th.
That's in San Francisco.
That's in San Francisco, at the Palace Theater down in.
Oh, that's so fun! You're going to love it.
Yeah, I've never done it before.
It's in a speakeasy, and it's so fun. It's amazing. You're going to love it. It's a cool place, too. It's underground San Francisco speakeasy. You're going to have a great time.
Fantastic. That's where comedy should be, damn it.
It's great.
People tell secrets, right? And I also will be at the Deaf Puppy Comedy Club in Manteca on Thanksgiving weekend.
Nice.
And I encourage people to go to my Substack, danstpaul.substack.com, and read my essays. It's called Another Funny Thing About Aging. And I've got about 100 essays up there, which I've been writing.
Oh, wow.
Ever since COVID. Yeah. So they're all between 800,000 words. Yeah. So,
nice.
Yeah, just
awesome
things I had to do to get my yayas out during COVID, right?
Right.
Yeah. That's why I wrote my novel during COVID.
Right.
I had nothing to do. I went crazy. I was going crazy.
That's where I fell into a tailspin of depression and ate brisket 3 times a day.
That's where I got into QAnon.
Tony, where are you playing?
I got a show coming at Comedy at the Greenery with Pat McCoy from Live 105.
Pat McCoy.
Oh my gosh, a name I've heard forever.
Yeah, me neither. But he saw me at the Orinda Theater. I hosted a competition afternoon, which was a lot of fun. A lot of funny people up there in the Bay Area.
Yeah.
And I'm with John Lair and Laura Hayden, and that's Comedy at the Greenery at the Walnut Creek Golf Club or something like that.
It's a fun gig.
And then Savage Henry Comedy Festival on the weekend in Eureka.
I did a thing in the Orinda Theater once.
Tell those guys I said hello.
Oh, I will.
I did
Brian.
It was an Orinda Theater thing once, like 10 or 15 years ago, and it was I don't think it only happened once, and it was something about honoring movie legends or something. They had me MC this thing, and Mickey Rooney was there in a wheelchair and couldn't speak.
Wow.
And they wheeled him up to get an award, and Cloris Leachman was there, same kind of thing.
Wow.
And it was like all the Lou Costello's daughter.
Wow.
And Boris Karloff's wife.
So who was on first?
She. Whoever was the oldest.
They should read your blog about aging. That sounds like your
Right.
How did it feel to be the young guy, Brian? Was that nice?
Oh, it was great. It's always great to be the young guy.
Here, let me help you up the stairs.
Hell, I'm the young guy here. So that's why I had you guys
wait a
on.
minute. Wait a minute. I'm 33. My age range.
33. You and Jesus. You and Jesus. And I'm going to throw my plug out. The solo show that I mentioned, the Great American Shit Show, it is called, and it is monologues on life in the age of Trump. It's a combination of stand up, of commentary, and of therapy, as well as the point being to tell people to get out the vote. So I am I'll be at the Marsh in Berkeley this Thursday. I'm mostly doing it on off nights. It's a pop up. So I'm in Berkeley with it. It's all over the Bay Area. It's gonna be at the Marin Civic Auditorium. If you want to see where the show is, go to briancopeland.com, and there's a link as well as ticket links for all the performances. So that's what I got coming up between now and do as many of these as I can between now and the election. So with that, Ngaio Bealum, Dan St. Paul, Tony Camin. Tony, you're welcome back anytime.
Well, thanks. It was a lot of fun, you guys. Thanks. I was on with some great people.
Good to
Some of
see
my
you
favorites.
guys.
So thanks.
All right. Well, thank you all for doing it. I will see you soon.
Ciao.
And if you would like to support this show, there are a lot of ways that you can do it. If you're listening to us as a podcast, just go to wherever it is that you're listening to the podcast and give us a 5-star review. That helps people to find the show. If you're watching us over YouTube, subscribe. It's free. It doesn't cost anything. And once we have 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, then we can do this live. Right now, we record the day before we drop. I'd love to do it live so we can incorporate listeners while we're doing the show. So just go and also the other way you can help us is by telling your friends, tell anybody you know, any way you possibly can, all about us. So I will check you out next week. Next week we got Greg Proops on the show, one of my faves, one of my pals. So come on out and make sure that you come out. Yeah, just come out to your laptop and check out what it is we're doing. So next time, be kind to your neighbor. He knows where you live.